Tiny Archibald was revolutionary. His style of play has aged extremely well. All the speedy and scoring point guards of today's league have all picked up something from this iconic player. During his playing career, he broke multiple records, made fans get out of their seats, and in the end, won a championship. This is a story of a player that was doubted time and time again and proved everyone wrong. If you look at his resume, you can see why he was selected to be a Hall of Famer and a top 75 player. He won a title with the 1981 Boston Celtics. He's a 6-time All-Star, 5-time All-NBA. On 3 occasions, he was selected to the All-NBA first team. He won the 1981 All-Star Game MVP. He won the scoring and assist title in 1973. He has one 3rd place finish and one 5th place finish for the MVP. He had a total of 23 games where he scored over 40 points and dished out more than 10 assists. That is 4th all time behind Oscar Robertson, James Harden, and Luka Doncic. He's also had 3 games where he's recorded over 50 points and 10 assists. That is tied for the 2nd most all time behind James Harden. What's even crazier about those stats is that he posted all those monster performances in a span of 2 seasons. Trust and believe that this player was a problem during his prime. If it wasn't for injuries, one can only imagine what he would have posted for his career. But before we get ahead of ourselves, we must start from the beginning. He grew up in the South Bronx and was a playground legend. He is the embodiment of New York basketball, elite ball handling, toughness, and creativity. He started his college career at Arizona Western College. He then transferred to Texas Western, or what is now known as the University of Texas at El Paso.
3 of those guys that was on the championship team, Max, was all from the Bronx. One guy, Willie Worsley, went to D with Clinton. And people always, relate to Willie and me. I said, yeah, Willie was on the team. Well, you got to understand, Willie led the city, New York City, in scoring. And the guy says, man, where were you at? I said, I had the best seat on the bench, okay? Because I was behind Willie, but I didn't get to play that much. Neville Shedd, okay, and Willie Cager went to Mars High School in the Bronx. So we had 3 guys that represented New York, but more importantly, the Bronx, okay, that played on that championship team.
He was a standout for his final 2 years. It was one of the top prospects in the country. In 1970, he was drafted in the 2nd round by the Cincinnati Royals. This is the same team that just traded away the best player that's ever played for that franchise, Oscar Robertson. He was traded to the Milwaukee Bucks and was given the opportunity to finally win a championship. It was the end of an era, which means that they were just starting a rebuilding phase. This was going to be the replacement, and he had some big shoes to fill. Like most rookies, he had to go through some growing pains. He was a good quality starting point guard, as he averaged 16 points and 5.5 assists per game. That didn't stop people from dismissing his abilities. NBA legend Bob Cousy was coaching the Royals during the time. He mentioned to the New York Times that he had to hear throughout all his rookie season that there was no place in professional basketball for the little man. Nate's response to his critics was always this: "My heart is bigger than you think it is," and there were clear signs of the player he would become. Late in the season, he had a great performance against the Atlanta Hawks. He posted 47 points on 75% shooting. For a young player like him, that was all the confidence he needed. In his sophomore season, his game started to take off. He was given the keys to the offense, and his numbers took a tremendous jump. He averaged 28.2 points on 49% shooting and 9.2 assists per game. He finished 2nd in the league in points and 3rd in assists. Up to that point, Oscar Robertson was the only other player to average over 28 points and 9 assists for a season. Since then, he is among 8 players to accomplish this feat. If anyone could vouch for his greatness as a floor general, it was his head coach. He is widely considered as one of the most accomplished point guards in league history. That season, he gave a great analysis of his performance to the New York Times. "You can't find anyone in the league who can stop Nate. If they give him space, he can hit the jump shot. If they play him tight, he's so fast, he can get around anyone to either drive to the hoop or pass off. He's been almost our whole offense for the last few weeks." He said these words after Tiny gave the Knicks 49 points on 48% shooting and 5 assists. When Cousy said he was their whole offense, he wasn't lying. How else would you describe someone that posted over 40 points and 10 assists a total of 9 times? Or what about what he did against the Portland Trail Blazers? He recorded 55 points on 65% shooting, 7 assists, 6 steals, and 3 rebounds. Did you know that only Michael Jordan and Rick Barry has posted over 55 points and 6 steals in a game? But that wasn't the only record-breaking performance he had that year. He torched the Blazers once again by recording 11 steals along with 33 points and 16 assists. That is tied for the all-time record for steals in a game. On top of that, this is the only time in history that a player has recorded over 30 points, 10 assists, and 10 steals. He did all of this, and the league still committed the atrocity of not naming him an All-Star. For some odd reason, they still were convinced of his greatness. If that was the case, then he had something special planned for them in the following year. What he did in 1973 is one of the greatest individual seasons that we've ever seen. The numbers that he posted were absolutely insane. He averaged 34 points on 49% shooting, 11.4 assists, and 2.8 rebounds per game. He led the league in scoring and assists. He is the first and only player to ever accomplish this feat. But that's not all. That is the highest scoring average by any point guard ever. He is only the second player to average over 30 points and 11 assists per game in a season. The only other player to record those numbers is Oscar Robertson. He did all that while leading the league in minutes played. He averaged 46 minutes per game. That is the 8th highest mark and is the highest by any player not named Wilt Chamberlain. This was coming from a player who was 6'1" and weighed about 150 pounds. He was usually the smallest player on the court, but he excelled in a league full of giants. For a player his size to post those kind of numbers was simply unthinkable at the time. But he proved that a player his size could dominate the court as well as they could. His speed, ball handling, and craftiness were too much for anyone to handle. He once described his game this way: "My game is going to the basket. I keep working on variations of the drive, stopping short, passing, double pumps, triple pumps, underhand layups, but I always have my eye on the basket." End of quote. This allowed him to have some historically great performances throughout the season. There were 3 total games where he posted over 50 points and 10 assists. His best game out of the 3 came against the Atlanta Hawks. He had 52 points on 68% shooting, 11 assists, and 8 rebounds. Then there was a game against the Detroit Pistons where he made more history. He had 41 points on 56% shooting, 21 assists, and 3 rebounds. That is only the 3rd time that anyone has recorded over 40 points and 20 assists. Oscar Robertson is the only other player to accomplish this rare feat. The NBA had no choice but to reward him for his legendary season. He finished 3rd MVP voting, he was in the All-NBA first team, and yes, he was finally an All-Star. In his first 3 years, he already accomplished so much, but now it was time to experience some team success. The Kings were unable to reach the playoffs. He wanted nothing more than to start winning. But in the following season, it all came crashing down. In the first game, he suffered an Achilles injury. Amazingly, he continued playing for the next 3 months. He played a total of 35 games until the pain was too much for him to handle. He sat out the rest of the year and he watched his team crumble apart. It was expected that the Kansas City Kings would continue their dysfunctional ways. They proved everyone wrong and they ended up with the 3rd best record in the Western Conference. Tiny came back to produce the 4th highest scoring average in the league while quarterbacking a balanced offense for the new coach, Phil Johnson. The return of Archibald was a great help. But the biggest factor in their improvements was the emergence of their center, Sam Lacey. Jimmy Walker also gave Tiny some much needed help on the scoring end. This was a stronger and more balanced team than in previous years. This gave him his first opportunity to play in the postseason. Their first opponent was against the Chicago Bulls. It was a close matchup for the first 4 games as the series was tied at 2 apiece. But Chicago's depth and strong defensive play was too much for the Kings to handle. They pulled away and eliminated Kansas City in 6 games. It was expected that they would continue improving, but the opposite happened. The Kings won 13 fewer games while experiencing no major injuries from any of their key players. The main difference was the lack of effort on defense. They went from finishing 4th in defensive rating to having the 4th worst in 1976. Although the Kings had the luxury of possessing the league's top talent, they failed to build a winning team around them. It was time to move on, and Nate expressed his desires to come back home. In the offseason, he was traded to what was then called the New York Nets. At first, he thought he would be joining forces with Julius Erving. This trade occurred during the merger, and the Doctor was playing with the franchise at the time. This was supposed to be the most talented backcourt in the league. Unfortunately, they never played a single game together. To join the NBA, the Nets had to pay a fine, and the New York Knicks demanded that they paid them $4.8 million. The reason was because they were invading their territory. This made it impossible for them to pay Irving's new contract. They were forced to shop him for teams looking to buy him out. And just like that, he was stuck on another mediocre team. They struggled terribly in his first season there. They were 10 games under 500 when they played against a team that stole his teammate. In that game, he broke his foot. This marked the end of his season and his very brief time playing for his hometown. In the offseason, they traded him away to the Buffalo Braves. This was when his career was in serious jeopardy. In a preseason game, he suffered another Achilles injury, the second one of his career. He was forced to miss the entire season. That is back-to-back years of suffering a major injury. For many people, this was the end to an underachieving career. There is no way he would ever be the player he once was. Maybe everyone was right that he didn't play a winning style of basketball, but that's not what the most winningest coach and executive thought of him. Red Auerbach strongly believed that he deserved another chance, and he was able to acquire him in a 7-player trade.
But when I went to his office, smoking all that kind of stuff, smoking a cigar, he started talking about the championship runs, championship teams and stuff like that. And he said, I think you could still do this. He said, I'm bringing in somebody and, I'm giving you this chance to run this team, and we're going to bring some new guys in and we're going to win.
Even though the Celtics were in the middle of a rebuilding phase, he knew their history. He knew how committed they were to winning championships, and he was going to do whatever it took to be ready for that moment.
Well, psychologically, I watched you come back from that Achilles, and what I remember was just really how you were so into one thing, and that was getting back into shape. And what I remember you, and you remember this well, you and them damn sweatsuits you were wearing, you come to practice and it would be just completely wet because you were dripping all over the place from just sweating because you were trying to get yourself back into shape. I saw you close to, you weren't tiny anymore. You were a little bit heavier. You were close to 200 pounds at one time.
Everything changed in the 1979 offseason when Larry Bird officially began his NBA career. After all those years and never playing with that one-star teammate, he finally had the pieces around him to win, and he took full advantage. During his time there, he was no longer looking to fill up the stat sheet. His only goal was to help his team win. He reinvented himself from the player that made all the plays for his team into a high-quality role player. He was a true point guard and a true floor general.
One thing we talked about and I look back on is during the championship run. And I watched you all of a sudden gain confidence into you transform into another player. You weren't the scorer anymore. You could be, but what you were the passer. Although you complained to me all the time, guys shooting shots all the time. I ain't getting no damn shot. I'm like, why are you telling me that? I ain't got nothing to do with that. You were complaining to me like, and then with guys shooting all the shots, I got the ball. But how you transform as a point guard to me was really interesting.
He had such a positive impact on the Boston Celtics that he was selected to be an All-Star for 3 years in a row. On top of that, he finished 5th in MVP voting in 1980. According to his contemporaries, he played a major role in the team's turnaround. It all started with his mentality.
I just wanted to be a part of that team, okay? Because it was, your window is closing. I said Larry and them and you were coming in on the exit. On the entrance, and I was leaving on the exit. So I just wanted to be a part of a winning part of a championship team.
Even though he lost a step or two, he was still quick enough to create for himself or others when he drove to the lane. He was still one of the most dangerous players when he looked to attack, and the Celtics benefited tremendously. With all the pieces in place, they finished with the best record in the league for 3 straight seasons. The only thing that was left to accomplish was to win the championship. In the 1981 playoffs, Tiny was showing flashes of his old dominant self. For the first 10 games of the playoffs, he averaged a combined 19.1 points on 52% shooting and 6.7 assists per game. Up to that point, he was the team's second leading scorer and the leading assist man for the playoffs. He even played a huge role in the Celtics coming back from a 3-1 deficit in the conference finals against the Sixers. But in Game 7, he suffered injury to his right thigh when Daryl Dawkins fell on him. This is where he displayed tremendous toughness and he continued battling with his teammates. This is what ML Carr said about him during the 1981 finals. Tiny is a great player, but it wasn't the real Tiny you saw in this series. The man was hurt. He couldn't run. At times his legs hurt so badly, Bill Fish would play him on offense and someone else on defense. Another guy might have folded his tent and given up, but not Tiny. He smelled that championship and that gold. End of quote. Nothing was going to stop him from helping his team win. In the title clinching game, he recorded 13 points and 12 assists. He helped the Celtics put away the Rockets and he won his first title. Even with all the records he has broken, the incredible numbers he has posted, nothing was more important than him than being part of a championship winning team. It couldn't have come at a better time. For his final 2 seasons with the Celtics, he continued battling through injuries. Nothing was worse than when he dislocated his shoulder in Game 3 of the 1982 Conference Finals. For many people, the reason the Celtics lost that series was because they didn't have their floor general. In the 1983 offseason, he signed with the Milwaukee Bucks and played about half a season before announcing his retirement. It was the end of an amazing 13-year career. He remains an inspiration for all the undersized point guards who want to dominate the league. But he also gave the blueprint for those who need to learn how to play their roles in the later stages. There's no question that his place among the NBA greats will always be cemented. But what about you all? What is your favorite memory of this legend? Where do you think he should be ranked among the greatest point guards? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.